Hey, I'm Jade, and this is another Turn It Up Tuesday, where every week I'll give a new album recommendation and a little history behind it. You can check out backlinebeat.com, where I've got concert galleries, reviews, interviews, and more album recommendations. Link in the description box below. Also, I'd love if you hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into this week's album. This week's album, Radiohead's The BENDS. Started by friends Johnny and Colin Greenwood, Tom York, Ed O'Brien, and Philip Selway, who met at Abington Public School in Oxford. They started a band which was originally named On a Friday, but after signing, the record label told them they should change their name, so they became Radiohead, taking their name from a Talking Heads song released in 1986. After the success of Pablo Honey, or more accurately, Creep, the song that completely took off, the band was ready to put that behind them and start again. The success of that song may have allowed the band to make another album, but according to Johnny Greenwood, it frightened us into getting much better. The name, The BENDS, even references their meteoric rise to fame, with York stating, "We just came up too fast." So in February 1994, Radiohead entered the studio to make their sophomore offering. They started at RKA Studios, but also recorded at the Manor in Abbey Road, with about 4 months total recording, though they did finish in November of that year with touring getting in the way, which the band actually didn't mind the touring getting in the way, as it took away from the monotony of recording and was able to kind of help them kind of rejuvenate and work the songs. The band actually really liked working with producer John Leckie on this album, with Johnny Greenwood stating, "He didn't treat us like he had some kind of witchcraft only he understands. There's no mystery to it, which is so refreshing." Though there was a bit of controversy when it did come to Leckie and his recording and mixes, as EMI hired 2 other people to mix it behind Leckie's back, them being Sean Slade and Paul Q. Coldry, who did Pablo Honey. By the time the album came out, only 3 of Leckie's mixes remained. The album also features Carolyn Lavelle playing the cello and John Matthias playing the viola and violin. Just over a year later, on March 13th, 1995, the album was released in the UK, with it going wider from there, releasing April 4th in the US. While a hit in their home country, the album didn't catch on in America. Capitol Records, who were releasing the album in the States, almost didn't release it as they thought there was no hit single they could take from it. Though the band did find a bit of a wider audience when they were featured in the Clueless movie. The BENDS is actually Radiohead's lowest charted album in the US still to date. Though the songs and the singles did find a friend in MTV, with MTV's Matt Pinfield retorting, because it's great, whenever he was asked by people why they were playing so much Radiohead songs when the band just wasn't selling as much as other artists. The album's cover was done by Stanley Donwood, who knew York from university. He actually wasn't a fan of the band's music at all, but did the album artwork, which actually started with the My Iron Lung EP, and has done every album ever since. Before the album was released, 3 singles were My Iron Lung in the UK, which actually the version that is on the album isn't what they recorded. It was a version that was taped live at the Astoria earlier that year that ended up on a concert VHS. Next up was a double single worldwide release of High and Dry and Planet Telex. That was on February 27th, 1995, with My Iron Lung coming out September 26, 1994. High and Dry was actually unearthed from a previous recording York had made years prior that he didn't like at all. But the record company really liked it and they thought they could make a hit out of it. So the band relented and made a song adding some new stuff from the original recording. Actually, for the release of that song, 2 music videos were made. One for a UK audience and one for an American audience. The other release, Planet Telex, which was originally Planet Xerox, but because Xerox is a copyrighted name, the band couldn't use it, thus changing it to Planet Telex. The song actually uses a recycled drum loop that the band and producer was kind of messing around with from a previous recording called Killer Cars. The band put all this together one evening while drunk, with O'Brien saying, "A drunken evening that probably spawned my favorite track. Tom's one-take vocal crouching in the corner was particularly memorable. He may have been unable to stand." After the BENDS was dropped, the 3rd single released was Fake Plastic Trees on May 15th. Selway, O'Brien, and Johnny Greenwood have stated that there's some, if not their absolute favorite lyrics on the album, with Selway stating, "Some of my favorite lyrics on the album. Gravity always wins. What a line." The song was the most difficult for the band to get right, actually taking months to do so. The song started with just York playing an acoustic guitar. That was the original version. But the band slowly built everything else on top of it. But in that process, that struggle, York felt like that's where they found out what Radiohead was. Just was another UK single release. It was a song York and Johnny Greenwood used as almost a challenge to see how many chords they could get into one song. The singles for the album stretched into 1996, with Street Spirit Fade Out dropping January 22nd of that year. Is also the last song on the album, and the band seemingly saved their best for last, with the song actually becoming the band's favorite. It was their highest peaking single up until that point, hitting the charts at number 5. Though the album released to mixed reviews, it also ended up on many's best of the year lists, and has since gone on to be regarded as one of the top albums of all time, regularly making those types of lists, much like last week's album, 10. Overall, the band found making the album liberating, with York saying, "This is the first recording that's really come from us, and because of that, I don't really care how people take it." He also talked about how the BENDS wasn't just the strength of a single song. Creep. The BENDS took Radiohead from being potential one-hit wonders to bona fide rock stars, finding their sound, or at least the starting point of where the band would go sonically from there until now. So grab it off your shelf, open your favorite music app, and turn up this week's album, Radiohead's The BENDS. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you liked it, and I hope you learned a little something that you didn't already know. Leave a comment on who you'd like to see me check out and maybe make one of these videos for. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd love if you did so. It really means a lot as we continue to grow. And if you'd like to help the channel and site out a little bit more, there's ways to do so in the description box below. And once again, check out backlinebeat.com. And if you haven't checked out last week's album, check it out here or here. Thanks, and have yourself a good one.